In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to In Full Zoom. I'm Nestor Licanto, and this week we're going to talk about the labor market on Guam, and we've got all the people who know everything about it right here in front of us. Dave Dell'Isola, the director of the Department of Labor, Janela, Carrera, a spokesperson for the department. We have Daphne Guerrero, who is the current president of the SHRM chapter on Guam, and Mike Pangelinan, who is a spokesman, Mr. Everything for SHRM over the years. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Dave, let's start it off with you, Dave. Tell us about the current labor market. I know you guys completed a big job fair recently. So what's the labor market like on Guam right now?
Well, it pretty much is what you see. We're currently putting together the latest unemployment report, which looks like it's probably going to be a little bit better than the last one, which is understandable. We are coming out of the COVID pandemic. Our businesses are opening. They're having a tough time finding employees. And that's why they came to us and said, hey, we suggested we have this island-wide job fair, and sooner than later, the governor wanted it as fast as possible. So we put it together. I thought it was a great success. We are just tallying some of the surveys from the participants that came in, and they had a 98% job satisfaction, job fair satisfaction, which is unbelievable. 25% got interviews right on the spot. We had, just so you kind of understand it, 65% of those participants that came in there were unemployed, and 35% were employed, but either looking for more hours or looking for a possible, different job possibility. And pretty much it was split between ages, between over 25 and under 25. So that shows that it isn't just young or old, it was a pretty good cross section. So overall, from when I talked to the employers, there were hundreds of people that were employed right then and there. I don't think I could have asked for a better job fair than what we did. Even the recruiters were very happy that they were there. We had our service providers there, telling of upcoming job training, and our AJC staff was there, and the flow was nonstop all day long. Over 2,000 people came. So I think that's a great way to kickstart our economy opening and our tourism coming back. And as we come out of pandemic, I think, like I said, we've done a great job handling COVID with all our PUA and the assistance, and our employers are happy with the services that we're offering with labor. I'm always open for any suggestions or ways we can do a better job, and we'll just keep on, kicking it out there. We had a great meeting in DC with the H2s and trying to make sure that flow is coming in so that these businesses can open up, our housing can grow, and our people can get better employed, those that live on Guam. So everything looks like we're coming up. I don't think we wanted to have everything open up all at once with everything blooming, because the unemployment is just too high and the people coming back to work was slow. And I when I was in DC, that's the way it is all over the nation. I talked to a lot of employers. They are slowly opening up and increasing their hours because they're having a tough time, getting employment. So this is happening nationwide. And to say that it's only happening on Guam or I don't want to get into politics of things is completely wrong. Our tourism was shut down because of COVID and the country's closing up, and they're just opening up. Japan is just opening up, and our island economy is just opening up. So it doesn't take rocket science to see what's going on. You don't need to be a politician or anybody to see everything is opening and growing, and people are going back to work. I think the island-wide job fair was an indication that both sides are coming back. And great partners like SHRM have been with us from the very beginning, and we continue to partner with them and to get a pulse of what's going on. And it's nice to see them here.
All right. I mentioned SHRM earlier, and I should have said what it stands for, the Society of Human Resources Management. Daphne, are you seeing the same thing that Dave's seeing?
Definitely. I mean, seeing it from the organization's perspective and the struggles that our current members are going through and fellow board members, but also from the employer's perspective and knowing what we have to, what we're going through at work. And, you know, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to Dave for allowing SHRM to partner with the Department of Labor, because it's been such a fruitful, I think, partnership. So we did, Department of Labor asked us to facilitate training for interview skills and resume building, which we were able to do leading up to the job fair. So that was so much fun because we did get to interface with a lot of the applicants and also the caseworkers over at DOL and train them up on, you know, what it means to interview and also how to build a resume for candidates. So that was a lot of fun. That was a very fruitful partnership. Really happy to do it. But I was also at the job fair with a lot of our fellow board members, and it was an amazing event. There was, like Dave said, there were thousands of people, and we had hundreds of candidates stop by our own booth. And I think at this point, we've even hired a few of them since the job fair. So it really, I think, was an amazing opportunity, and I think very well received and very much needed by our island.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
All right, Mike, you want to add to that?
I do. I do also want to echo what Daphne said about how much we appreciate the Department of Labor, not only for the partnership opportunities to train up businesses, but also for the training that they provide. You know, Department of Labor just did a training for us last week during one of our monthly briefings. Greg Massey and his team did a presentation of about an hour and a half over at Dusitani, which was really beneficial to a lot of our membership. And the job fair, I heard a lot about it because in addition to being on the SHRM board, I'm also an employment lawyer. So I represent a lot of various sizes of companies, and many of which attended the job fair and were very happy about the turnout and about the results of it. I think that there's huge challenges right now for some companies because of the fact that, you know, during the pandemic, there were some widespread layoffs and furloughs because a lot of the hotel venues shut down for a long period of time. And as they gradually reopen, you know, they need to bring back their staff, and it's been challenging, especially in particular positions that to get staff back to work. It's hard to find employees in certain positions, especially engineering and culinary side. But the different companies, depending on the sort of product that they offer, they're having different types of challenges. But the job fair really helped kind of kickstart that process, and it really is something that businesses on Guam really appreciate.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the challenges later, but first let me ask Janela. I know you probably fielded a lot of questions from prospective employees. What were some of their concerns? What were some of their questions that they were giving you?
Yeah, thanks, Nestor. So actually, you know, a lot of the feedback that we received, not just with the job fair, but, you know, overall, in terms of people looking for work and here at the AJC, you know, they are just excited to get back to work. You know, we receive a lot of anecdotal evidence of people who are looking for work, particularly at the job fair. You know, we were getting people who were just talking about their overall excitement from employers, employees alike. So we were waiting for the results of the exit survey. So anecdotally, we knew that people were excited, over 2,000 people who came out. And we knew that there were hundreds who were hired on the spot. and hundreds more who were pending hires. But now we actually have the evidence, the hard numbers that show that the results of the job fair was successful. Over 96% satisfaction rating for people who attended the job fair. Over 91% for the job selection alone. That shows you that when we put this job fair together, we had a wide range of industries who came out. So I think that shows you that, you know, the job industry right now, it is at the right place. As Dave was mentioning, you know, we had a pandemic that really put a halt to many things, not just in healthcare, but you know, in the job industry. And now we're slowly opening back up. I mean, I think we were slowly opening up even 6 months ago, but now it's really starting to take that turn where, you know, tourism. I was actually out in Tumon, passing by Tumon the other night, and the number of tourists that I was seeing had nearly tripled in the last 6 months alone, in my anecdotal eyes, right? So I think the time, it's ripe right now. The job industry right now is ripe for, you know, for our island. So that's just, you know, my perspective of how things are going.
Yeah, and Dave, so if what Janela is true, so it's an employees market right now?
It still is. But I think the one point that Janela said that was really critical about was really good about the job fairs, that we had 90 employers represented. So these unemployed got a chance to have a choice and talk to various industries and explore what those options are, which was different than anybody else's job fair, which is usually one company specific. They had a choice to see, oh, and they were exploring. They, I think they at least applied it or looked at 10 different employers at our job fair. And that gives them an idea of the excitement and what opportunities that they never imagined that was available. And yeah, I forgot about Sherm doing that, you know, that prelude of the interviewing, and that was so well received by, so that they can be better prepared before the job opening, that we want to do it some more. And we're going to ask them to do it again. And so, you know, it doesn't take rocket science. This is what the island needs, and we will do it again, you know, and we will continue. That's part of our job, is to be that person in the middle, to align the employers with the unemployed and those job seekers, get them a chance to explore, oh, maybe that's the industry that they want, but they need some more training. Or what is it that, you know, once they talk to it, what is it that they lack? And that's where we put everybody aligned. GCC was there also, you know, UOG, a Smoojow. I mean, everybody was there so that they can one-stop shop for all their needs. And that was what they needed, I think, to get that extra spark and that energy to actually see what's out there for them. And you know, we wanted to give a little bit of time before we approached the employers on what they felt, because they had so many stacks of job applications, and they all knew that they want to jump very quickly and aggressively before somebody else grabs them. So I said, all right, I'll hold off before I approach you and ask you and circle around to see what their take was. So, you know, we're going to continually to align and listen to the pulse. Our AJC is going to reach out and be more community-based. If employers, if you're going to have a job fair, reach out to us. We'll assist you. We'll help you, because we know how labor intensive it is to get a job fair. And we will always help those applicants. If they need job readiness skills, come down. We'll help you. And we'll continuously to partner with the SHRM, because we can't solve everything. And that's what SHRM is there. They're here to be willing partners and you know, and up the level of experience that our case managers have, because they also attended some of those classes and they learned from that too.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, and Daphne, I know it's kind of an employees market, but the challenges that Mike was speaking of earlier, is it one of them not being able to find qualified folks? Maybe someone who left a job in the tourism industry may not be readily qualified for a job in, say, the telecom industry. Is that some of the challenges that employers are facing?
We do definitely have challenges in filling, as Mike mentioned, some of the more technical roles. There is a, we face a challenge here on Guam is, do we build or do we buy? And if you bring in people off island, first of all, we're not giving the opportunity to our candidates here on our island. Second, it's very expensive because, our wages kind of lag from what the US baseline wage is. So I have seen a lot of challenge when it comes to hiring some of our more technical roles, especially engineers is one, telecommunications engineers. We are also looking for solar, electrical engineers, and the skill set. We have to kind of be a little bit more flexible in that regard because the skill sets may differ changing from industry, but what we look for too is attitude and just the talent that's out there, because there's a lot of talent here on island. And but to Dave's point, during that job fair, we did get a lot of exposure to candidates that we normally wouldn't see. So I actually got a wide range of applications and interest from people, some people with technical skills or some people with marketing skills, and we don't really see that a lot when we put out our own job openings on our website, because they have to come specifically to our site. But with the Department of Labor, what they did is they brought everyone into that space, and it gave not just the employees, but the employers a lot of visibility and exposure to candidates that we normally wouldn't see.
Yeah, and Mike, so we haven't reached a point where we're needing to recruit from off island for talent, are we?
I don't think we have, I think because largely the reason I think for the lack of staffing and lack of available talent is because the widespread layoffs caused some people to change their skill set and to move into other industries. Obviously, the hotels had to shut down during the pandemic, and the hotels operate a lot of food and beverage venues. And there's a need for hotels when the full operation is going to have engineering staff to keep the operation running, to run the technical equipment. So once you lose those folks and they end up unemployed and looking for other work, they move on to other opportunities. So imagine all the hotels that had all their engineering staff. Those engineers were out of work and they had to go somewhere. So they went to the construction industry, because there's lots of construction projects that still continue because there was still some funding, and that doesn't depend on tourism. And so now it's hard to get a lot of that group back to work at the hotels, because a lot of times, if you work for a federal contractor, you're going to have probably a little bit higher wage, you're going to have better benefits. And so it's a matter of trying to bring those folks back, and that's been a huge challenge. But it's not as though the labor pool doesn't exist here. It definitely does. So I don't think there's a need to go off island, but it's just a gradual process, and I think it's just going to take some time to kind of get the staffing back to their original levels as tourism gradually opens up.
Yeah, and Janela and Dave, is it true that some things that I've heard that there's a lot of people who have left island to find work or to start new businesses? Have you seen that? Is that just a smattering of folks?
Well, some of that has happened. What you've seen is a lot of those retired expertise went into retirement, and we're taking care of the kids. We're able to retire because they were already retired. And as the job market goes up and the pay goes up, they will unretire and come back in. So you will have that segment flying in and out of the job market, as is typical with Guam. And some did leave island. I mean, we always have that during when there's high unemployment in the States. Some migrate over, and as our job industry comes back up and tourism and the pay comes back, they will come back. So they're very transient in that regards also. So between that combination of retired people that said, I don't want to mess with work during the pandemic, because they're older, will migrate back as everything becomes safer. And you'll see that also. And let's face it, we've always had a challenge when it comes to the skilled market. And that's something that we will always have on Guam because of our small population. I've met with Guam, a Guam Hotel Restaurant Association. We've explored what kind of possibilities are between training or temporary workers to help, alleviate some of that. So I am aligning with as many of those groups as possible to seek possible temporary solutions. And that's what we're here at DOL. We're looking with the SHRM, with GHRA, with the Guam Contractors Association. We meet to see what voids we can do with possible training, apprenticeship, and our Guam Registered Apprenticeship Program. And, there's on-the-job training, work experience programs, federal programs. We are making that all available to everyone. You just need to see what that fit is, and we'll continue to work that way.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, and Janela, any plans for any outreach to employees?
Actually, we were to employees. We're always open. The AJC. We do partner with nonprofit organizations, like we just announced the one we did with Manyetlu. And so we formalized that partnership recently. And so, and the reason why we did that was because a couple of years ago when we had the PUA program, we wanted to ensure that we also included our brothers and sisters from our neighboring islands, and that, we were serving that community as well. And so we formalized it now to ensure that we also do engage that community, continue to engage that community for workforce development. So that's one of our outreach partnerships that we continue. But the one thing I wanted to add was, I think it happens like once every decade or so, 10 to 15 years, you kind of see this mass exodus, people leaving Guam, seeking better opportunities because, they kind of see this perceived decline in the economy. But Dave's right. They tend to come back. They tend to come back when they see that it's no better off in the States. With inflation happening here, inflation's also happening there. And in fact, I was one of them. I left here about 15 years ago, and then I ended up coming back because the economy tanked over there. So, you might see that occurring. You hear about people leaving Guam because they want better opportunities in the States, but the job market there, inflation there, no sooner than maybe a few years, you might see them coming back because the economy is going to get better out here, or, inflation might steadily become stable out here or something like that. So I think that's just a matter of time before we see how things might fare out here and fare out there. The other thing that I also wanted to add in terms of trying to see, where we are with any potential barriers, we're actually working on another survey to send to the employers who were the 90 plus employers who were part of the job fair. So we're going to be sending out a survey to them as well, because we want to get their feedback. And one of the questions we're going to ask them is, what are some of the barriers that they are finding for qualified applicants? So I think that's important to find out. Is it because lack of education, lack of skills, lack of motivation? Could it be because of language barriers, drug or alcohol abuse? These types of things. So we want to understand, what are employers going through? What are some of the reasons why they can't find qualified employees for their companies? So
right. Only got about a minute left. I'm going to end it with you, Daphne. So tell us from an employer's perspective, what your best advice is for an employee looking for a job.
Definitely, there are a lot of jobs out there here on Guam, and a lot of companies, not just our own, are looking for positions. So I would say visit the American Job Center, do some outreach. You can contact SHRM, and we can definitely assist you. We are holding some more trainings coming up, but there are a lot of opportunities out here on Guam, I think, and it's just, finding the right outlets to help you connect to an employer here on island. So.
All right, that's Daphne Guerrero, the president of the Guam chapter of SHRM. Mike Pangelinan is the PIO spokesperson. Dave Dell'Isola, of course, the director of the Department of Labor, and Janela Carrera is the spokesman for GDOL. I'm Nestor Licanto. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week on In Full Zoom.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.